Okay?
What would be the ideal amount of minutes for Taylor and Thomas?
Per game?
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably 32, 33, something like that, probably be about right. So, if I do a better job subbing around timeouts and stuff, you can probably play a little longer too.
You said that Tyshawn told you before the K-State game that he's as tired as he's
Yeah.
felt.
Well, I don't know about ever, but he told me he's worn out.
Did you do anything, I guess, with him in practice or anything?
No, we've taken the last 2 days off. So, yeah, so he's 100% now. Those 48 hours is unbelievable. That batteries are recharged and everybody's feeling good. So there's no excuses. We gave him 2 days off, and we'll practice hard today and tomorrow and get ready to play.
Are you having to structure things differently with, first of all, the amount of conference games and then the lack of depth?
Not really. Not really. We don't practice a real long time. I mean, we'll go an hour and a half today probably. It'll be intended to be an hour and 15, and it'll stretch out because we won't guard or do something. But we're just not going. We're trying to keep them off their feet as much as possible.
Bill, we made a lot of Jeff over the last week and a half, 2 weeks, sort of coming out of nowhere, but he didn't come out of nowhere in high school. I mean,
Yeah.
you guys were.
He was a highly recruited kid. We recruited him and committed to Louisville, and then he decommits and goes to Arizona, and then when the coaching change occurred there, and Coach Olson retired, and then he left. But yeah, he was a highly recruited guy. I mean, he went to McDonald's All-American, but he was a guy that was certainly in everybody's top 50 or 70 players in the country. But he's, it's so interesting to see those rankings are important, but really those rankings, you should look at them like 3 or 4 years later to see where they all develop and everything. And I would think that he would, in his class, he would have to, at this point in time, be one of the, a guy that would certainly be worthy of McDonald's All-American award or something like that, based on what happened 4 years late in retrospect. But here's a guy that averaged, what he averaged, 3 minutes a game last year. I mean, so it is pretty much out of left field to become the player that he's been for us the last week and a half. Now, it's not out of left field for him to average 8 points or 9 points and 6 rebounds. That, to me, should be a given. If you're 7 foot and you start at Kansas, you're playing 24 minutes, how could you not average 9 points and 7 rebounds or whatever? But his performance has just taken us to a whole different level, potentially, what our team can become.
Is he the tallest player you've ever sent to the free throw line on a technical foul?
You know what? That's a great question. I'm surprised it came from you. I think he is the. I think he is the tallest. Without, we had a guy at Illinois. You guys may remember Nick Smith. He was 7'3", and he was a great free throw shooter. But we also had Darren Williams and some other guys that weren't bad, and D and Luther. So he never got a chance to shoot any of them. But Jeff. I mean, it wasn't even a.
Decision at all?
No, well, it kind of was, but the last game, I probably would have sent somebody else, but I'm trying to think, was it Baylor when I sent him to shoot him, when we could have had somebody else shoot him. He went 1 for 2, but because the only reason I did that was just so he could do that in that setting, so in case we ever needed down the road, because you don't practice shooting free throws with nobody on the line. Or at least game conditions, and then certainly, it worked out where he had a chance to shoot him at K-State.
You haven't had the end of game trade offense for defense scenario much this year. Will that ease things if you do encounter that situation?
Your question is what I'm not following.
Subbing in offense for defense late in games when you're worried about fouls and
You mean
everything.
so we don't have to sub
Right,
a
yes.
guard in for a big?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We that won't even register. What will register is if they're playing 4 guards or 5 guards and they've got to shoot threes, who do we keep in the game? Defensively in that situation. So that could register. But as far as we need to have. To be honest with you, Thomas has shot them actually pretty good down the stretch. I feel as comfortable with those guys shooting them as anybody, and there's not a lot of teams out there that could probably say that.
How do you think Thomas and Jeff?
Better. But I think the game is easier. Thomas, to me, I didn't think he played as well as what he had been playing against K-State, but I thought K-State did a great job of putting guys around him. But to me, he's passed the ball better and been more unselfish and all those things because I think he trusts Jeff. I think it's been really good for Thomas. And as we move forward, if Jeff plays well, then, teams, I don't want to say they got to pick their poison, because that's not true, because everybody can design something. This is how we're going to guard these guys. But certainly I think it makes you think about, running two at Thomas all the time if you got Jeff free on, by himself.
Was that something that the team had to build, that trust in Jeff throughout the year, in terms of throwing it into him, the guards getting him the ball?
No, I don't think so. I think he's working a little bit harder. Jeff's played great. He has absolutely played great. I'm not going to say anything negative about him playing anything other than great. But in the last 3 games, he's made an awful lot of layups. If you look at all his baskets, all but 2 maybe are layups, which is the way that we want to try to design things, to get layups. I mean, that's why you run offense, is try to get easy baskets. But it's not like he's catching the ball at 8 feet, backing a guy down and shaking a guy and then going over his other shoulder. I mean, that's not what he's doing. He's making easy plays, and guys are doing a good job getting him the ball. So, I think sometimes too much is being made when a guy has a good game. Well, there's usually a reason why a guy has a good game, and sometimes it's because the way they guard the other players on their team too. But certainly, to me, Jeff is impacting the game more so than offense, as he's going after the ball. The 2 tip-ins he gets against K-State were unbelievable plays. Getting a steal and running the floor and finishing with the dunk. I mean, those are unbelievable plays. That didn't have anything to do with your offense. So I think it's just more. He's put himself in position to score and be in the game because he's so much more aggressive. He's going after the ball. That's the big thing. He's not a different player than he was 2 weeks ago. He's just going after the ball. He didn't become a better shooter in the last 3 games.
Coach, do you keep a watch on the standings? You look at your next 2 games, and on paper, those are teams you never take for granted, but you should beat. But everybody else is looking way ahead, and you're neck and neck in the standings. Is that an unspoken thing, just hanging there?
No, it's not unspoken. We talk about it every day. Yeah. I talk about my guys every day up in our room, our board. We keep track of the standings. It changes every game that everybody plays. We have a deal in our locker room or in our film room that we take great pride in looking at that stuff. Now, we don't talk about, well, they got them left and they got them left and we got them left. All you do is just play it 1 game or 1 week at a time. I usually myself personally take it a week at a time. Like we got 2 games this week, and this is how we need to prepare. But yeah, sure, we think about that. Absolutely, there's no question about that. And we're getting down to crunch time, and that everybody's got 5 games left, and certainly, it's the same thing in a basketball game. In a basketball game, the last 4 minutes are always the most important minutes of a game, because if you make a mistake, you don't have time to recover. Same thing in a league race. Now we're down the last couple of weeks, or whatever it is, 2.5 weeks. You make a mistake now, there may not be time to come back. Last year, if you remember, hey, we lost 2 games. We're 2 games behind the league standings, but that was the 1st of February. If we won out, we could still win the league. If you lose a game in the next couple of weeks, even if you win the other ones, it may be not enough. So absolutely, we think about that.
But we tend to think of programs. The measure of a program's strength is what they do in March, and yet this year everybody will play conference games January, February, and the first week of March. I'm just wondering your thoughts on the measure of a strength of a basketball program with its conference success.
Well, I guess people could say that I'm speaking this way because, we've had a little bit of success in the league. But to me, obviously, the postseason is the most important season. And the media has made it that way because road to the Final Four. It's what we hear about and publicized about all the time. CBS has done a remarkable job. Bracketology. You got guys that have become, nationwide, known nationally because they seed people for the tournament. And which is great. It adds energy, it adds excitement, interest as much as anything else. But still, I think sometimes what's lost in the equation is your body of work, so to speak. Did the Giants have a better year than the Packers? They didn't have a better year. They had a better 3 weeks. But that's what it all equates to, because there's only one left standing, and that's what everybody strives for, and that's what deserves the most interest, and certainly that's where teams get rewarded. But I think if you were to ask any coach that coaches in a league, they would say that your conference race is so important because that's who you have to beat every year. When you go into, when I was in the Big Ten was a huge deal. I mean, all the kids called it the 10. I mean, everybody, that was a goal to win the league. Because if you win the Big Ten, you're automatically going to be one of the best teams in the country. Well, the Big 12 is the exact same way. We take it for granted around here. But if you win the league, if you win our league, you've automatically put yourself in a position to be considered one of the teams that maybe have a chance to cut down nets in March. So you know, and we've actually had pretty good success in the tournament. I think we won like the 4th or 5th most games in the tournament over time that we've been here. So it's been pretty good, but it hasn't been good compared to what the expectations, what our hopes were going in as a 1 seed and that kind of stuff. So I totally agree that we've underachieved in the tournament. But playing bad one day to me is awful. You hate for it to happen, but playing really well over a course of 2.5 months to me carries a lot of value.
You got 6 or 7 guys that you play on a consistent basis. Is that,
6.
I mean, is that a positive or negative thing, you know, when you do hit the tournament?
Well, I don't know if it's positive or negative. If those 6 are playing really good, I guess it's positive. If we get in bad foul trouble, it may be negative. I don't know, but I don't know. I can't answer that. You know, everybody would like to have 10 guys they can throw out there and not skip a beat, but if you got 10 guys out there you can throw out there, then there's 2 that's always not happy because they're not playing. You know, you look at Syracuse and how deep they are, and I could be wrong on this, but Jim started out playing 10 or 11 this year. I think that rotation's been squeezed down quite a bit. Isn't that right? I mean, it's been squeezed down quite a bit. There's not a lot of coaches out there that want to play more than 8. Now, they're like, we played more than most programs in the past, but there's not a lot of guys out there that want to play a lot more than 8. I think 8's a perfect number, personally. But I think we're fine with our depth situation. I think we're fine. We just got to figure out a way to stay fresh, but I think we'll stay fresh.
How's Elijah been playing the last couple weeks or so?
He's doing fine. You know, he's not making shots like he can, but he's doing fine. He's actually done a really nice job defensively in most cases, and did a really nice job on Heslip down at Baylor, and I thought he did a nice job the other night for the most part on Spradling, you know, because he was locked up on him most of the time. I think he's done some good things. Elijah's not concerned at all about scoring or that kind of stuff. He just wants to win, and he does take great pride in doing little things to give us the best chance to win. So I'm pleased with him. But I'm still waiting for that stretch. You know, every player has a stretch for the most part, and his hadn't come yet. So I'm excited about that stretch because I know it's coming.
I assume Jeff is in that stretch.
Jeff's in the stretch. Travis was in the stretch, you know, there for a second. I mean, how many schools out there in America, regardless of what league, has had 4 different players be the conference player of the week? I don't even know. That's unbelievable to me, you know. So we got to get Travis and Elijah and just being a little bit more consistent, I think.
You've been where Billy is kind of right now, that first-year program, kind of struggling. What's the toughest part?
Well, they're better than we were in my first year. We lost 18 in a row. So, and that wasn't exactly playing Big 12 caliber competition. And we started with 15 and ended with 7. So he's way ahead of where we were. But it's tough. It's tough. You know, he didn't get a chance really to recruit, you know, going out and have an extended period of time. And by the time he got the job, which all guys do in the spring, late, usually most of the guys have signed or committed. So it's tough, but I'm not worried about Billy getting players there. He's going to get better players, and they're going to get better. They're better than we were the first time we played them. You know, they could have easily beat A&M. You know, they had the game muddied up just the way they wanted it, and they beat Oklahoma muddying it up, and they'll come in here and try to muddy it up.
Coach, if you could describe Tyshawn over the course of 4 years, how would you describe him to someone? I would say inconsistent,
but for the most part, terrific. He's had a great career. You know, there's only been 3 or 4 other players that's ever put up the numbers that he has from his position at our school. Of course, he's also started for 4 years, so it's easy to put up numbers when you start for 4 years. But you stop and think about it, he's the 4th leading scorer on his high school team. He averages 10.0 a game on a high school team, and he's averaging 18 in league for Kansas. That's pretty good. I mean, that's a big jump and improvement. Tyshawn, I think, is one of those kids that's very emotional, which is his strength, which is one of his great strengths. But if you're going to pick out one of his weaknesses, I would say is that he's emotional. Sometimes it can get the best. It makes him a much better player being the way he is. But sometimes, he can get emotional in a situation that he shouldn't get emotional in. But that's also, I mean, that's who he is. I think a lot of people would say roller coaster. I don't know if I'd agree with that, roller coaster. I think that I would agree that he's actually been the point guard on a team that's won an awful lot of games. I mean, since he's been the last 3 years starting point guard, we lost 11 games in 3 years. So, he's as responsible for that as anybody.
As a person,
Is he likable? I love him. See,
he's a social butterfly.
but see, the thing about it is, I like kids with personality. But when you have kids with personality and that are stubborn and are strong-willed, it creates confrontation. Well, I'd rather have a guy, have confrontation with you than have a guy that's soft and that backs away. I like guys like that. He is my kind of guy, without question. And I've said this publicly. I don't know if I could enjoy coaching a kid more than I've enjoyed coaching him the last couple of months. And I think he knows that I'm enjoying coaching him, which is probably more than he's known for a period of time since he's been here. But he's look at the things that's gotten him in trouble. Tweeting, Facebook. Those are some things when you talk about guys that have had bad experiences in college. They're not really talking about those type of things. Those type of things are things that maybe go unnoticed if you play at a place that wasn't a high-profile place like this. But he brings it on himself. I mean, he gets in his own way a lot, but certainly I think he's matured and corrected that many times over here this past year.
You talked about his emotion at the end of I think after you missed that second front end, you said you told him it's over. It seems like sometimes he wants to do so well and win so much.
He tries too hard.
Yeah.
I think so too. I was like, of course he missed 2 free throws and he walked. So I mean, if he didn't have that facial expression, trust me, I had it over there on the sideline. But that's also Ty. He's going to do that sometimes.
How do you coach him up when you can't simulate those late game, high pressure free throw scenarios in practice? How do you handle a situation like that moving forward?
I don't worry about free throws. I don't worry about. I never have. Don't worry about them. I worry about the turnovers or that kind of stuff. We can practice that. We can simulate that at least a little bit. But free throws a little different. So he's got to have some courage and some faith and some confidence. He got to step up and make them. I mean, that's what players do. But as far as me, worried or how you going to coach him differently or what are you going to do to try to improve him in that area, I'm not going to try to do anything. Hey, get your butt and let's go shoot them and get some confidence from shooting them in practice and know that the thing about it is with shooting and with free throw shooters, guys can make free throws. In the last 4 minutes, they don't shoot them near as well. Or guys can't make free throws in the last 4 minutes, they shoot them a lot better. Ty's one of those guys that's never going to be an 85% free throw shooter. He's not. That's not who he is. But he should be a guy that makes them when it counts the most because he's a winner. And we just got to, keep convincing him of that because I really believe he is.
I don't know if shot selection is the right word, but it seems like he's been pretty good at, first half Missouri. He kind of senses he's got to carry it. Second half, he defers to Thomas and limits his shots. Is his shot selection in that regard of kind of picking when he's got to do things been pretty good?
Well, you guys are asking good questions today. Very surprising. I think Ty shoots it. I think when he shoots it less times, we're usually a better team. And when he shoots it more, it's usually when we're running crap offense. And he feels like he's got to go do it on his own. 19 shots against K-State is too many. but he also made about three plays that if he doesn't go be aggressive and score, we may not win the game. So I would say that it's kind of a balance with him. Sharon was the same way. Sharon really didn't score a lot of points in games that we were going to win. He scored all his points in the close games. I kind of think Ty is one of those type of guys. I'd love for a point guard to score 12 points on 7 shots and have 8 assists and 2 turnovers, but he's a guy that may end up scoring 20 points on 17 shots, which isn't as good a ratio, but the reason he takes them is because we don't have anything going. So, and he's the one guy that can get his own shot on the team. So, number of shots I think is more the situation of the game with him as much as anything else.
Coach, when you look back at maybe all the point guards you've coached during your career, is Ty's skill set unique, or does he compare to anyone you've coached before?
I'd say he's unique because I don't think I've coached anybody that tall, that long, that fast. Yeah, I'd say he's unique. But he doesn't think the game like Darren or Aaron. I mean, he doesn't think that like that. He didn't have the energy that D had. To me, he doesn't have the ability to make shots consistently like Sharon had. But none of them had the speed that he has, or the courage to get in there and make plays. So, everybody's different, and certainly he can be compared to a lot. But I would say this: have we ever, or you could throw Mario in that case too. But have we ever had a player since I've been here that's played better over a 6-week period, that's a guard, than what Tyshawn has? Tell me. I mean, hey, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I don't think we've ever had him. Sharon didn't have a stretch like this. Mario didn't have a stretch like this, but in large part because they played on teams where other people, they could defer. But on this team, he can't defer. He's been pretty solid for us. No, I think Thomas is a Big 12 Player of the Year. I think Thomas is the Big 12 Player of the Year. I think you can make a case for Ty. I think you can make a case for Denman. To me, and I'm just thinking out loud, which is dangerous, but I would say that those three have probably distanced themselves from the other really good players in our league to have a chance maybe to be Player of the Year. But to me, a guy that has a chance to be National Player of the Year probably, would be the safer bet to be their Conference Player of the Year. But certainly Ty during this stretch during league play has played as well as anybody in our league. I also think Denman's had an unbelievable year too.
Coach, you referred to Texas Tech as muddying the waters. Do you expect them to come in here and play that way?
Oh yeah. I know Billy well enough. He'll muddy them up. Even when we played down there, he did a good job. It's like 16-15 with 5 minutes left in the first half. I mean, we set ball back a few years that first half, and of course at Manhattan, both the Jayhawks and the Wildcats set it back 15-20 years in that game. But I don't think winning ugly is all bad. I don't think that's all bad at all. And that was this past Monday was a typical Big Ten type game. Fewer possessions, muddied up, got to steal a couple easy baskets, and that'll be the same way when we play Billy on Saturday.
Coach, with Perry Ellis's team getting the consecutive win streak on Tuesday, coupled with 3 titles, 3 State Player of the Year awards, McDonald's All-American, some are calling him having the most successful high school career in the history of the state.
Right.
Can you speak to his legacy and what excites you the most?
I can't speak to everything about it because there was a period of time in Wichita where they were producing some really, really good players, and the competition was so stiff. I will say that Wichita Heights has to go down as one of the premier teams in the history of Kansas high school basketball. Has to. But I can't go back and know to the Lucius Allen teams. And is that right? Wasn't he at Wyandotte? Yeah, I can't speak to those teams. But I would say since I've been around, it's been the most dominant program. And certainly what he has done under pressure and that kind of with expectations high, to me it's pretty remarkable. I mean, regardless of how many good players you have, you still got to go produce and you got to win, and he's found a way to do it and do it with class. And he's never made a B. So it's a remarkable the high school career that he's had.
What aspect of his game are you most excited to coach him?
Probably different than what most people think. I think I'm most excited to coach his athletic ability. People talk about he can shoot and play the three, and people talk about he can post and do this. Hey, that kid can run and jump, and being able to see, how he can play. If he can guard a 2, if he can guard a 5, I think it's going to be exciting to watch how he progresses and his athletic ability, allowing him to become a great player. There's a lot of players out there that could be really good players, but their athletic ability may not allow them to be great. He's a guy whose athletic ability gives him a chance to be great.
Anything else?
All right, guys.